Hello and welcome to another lesson of All About Stamping. Today I wanted to feature My Cute Stamps. They're a newer company on the market and I just discovered them after the most recent CHA in winter of early 2011. And I bought a few of their stamp sets and I've just been loving them so far. I wanted to put them kind of right after Lawn Fawn because they have a sort of similar cute style that definitely goes with the Lawn Fawn stamps. You could definitely use them together, but they're definitely separate, cutesy kind of, in a cutesy kind of way. Their lines are a lot more delicate and they have really cool detail on their stamps, as you can see here on the dress. And but they also have some bolder lines. So these are a little bit darker, these are even a little bit darker, and then they also have things like this cupcake, which have really bold lines. So they vary across the collections. I have two sizes here. These are the 4x3 sets, and then this is a 1.5 by 1.5. And then they also have 4x6 sheets. But yeah, these are the ones that I have right now. I'm hoping to pick up several more, and I'm definitely looking forward to their summer CHA release or their upcoming release, because I think that they'll come out with even more cool stuff. You can even buy them now at a lot of retailers, so you can check out links on my blog for more information about that. So today what I wanted to do, oh, and another thing, they are really kind of spunky about their stamps. Like this one, they have crying flowers. How cute is that? They're not really afraid to go there, even though, I mean, it's not really a touchy subject, but it's kind of odd for stamps. But, you know, people really like the stamp set. I love the stamp set because it's so funky, and I don't know, I wouldn't have thought of making crying flowers, but they're really cute on, like, Hope You Feel Better Soon cards. I used these on a card when my roommate broke his arm, so, you know, stuff like that. Today I'm going to be using this Tea Party stamp set. I love that little princessy girl, and I wanted to make kind of a cute card with some paper piecing. So my plan for today is to paper piece all of the stamped images. So I'm going to stamp, let me show you here. I'm going to end up stamping the girl on paper for her dress, and then paper for her skin, and paper for her hair. And then I want her to be holding a teacup with a pile of teacups, a teapot, and a cake on a table, which we don't have a stamp for, so we're going to have to draw that. But that's okay. We'll get there when we get there. So I'm going to start out by stamping the girl, and I have her mounted up on a block, and I'm using Memento black ink just because I think this works really well, and the black appears in some of the pattern papers in this paper pad, which this paper pad is the Sweet Threads collection from Basic Gray, by the way, and it's really great for paper piecing because, especially all 6x6 pads in general, their patterns are scaled down so that you can still see them on stamped images. So I have her stamped on this. I'm going to stamp her also on this piece of cardstock, and this will be her skin, which is going to be a very pale princess, but that's okay. Okay, and you can see the line quality is so cute. It's just so dainty. I love it. And then I'm just going to stamp the hair. I'm only just going to ink up the top portion of this for this, and stamp her hair on the bottom of this scrap piece of paper. Okay, so I have the girl all stamped out. Next, I want to make sure that I just stamp everything at once. That way I can clean all my stamps at once and so on. For the teacups and the teapot, I'm going to use, I think, right now at least, I'm going to use this paper. It's a little bit busy, a little bit crazy, but once we cut it out, I think it'll be fine. So I'm just trying to kind of look and see what part of the pattern will be in the image when I stamp it down. And these will look really cool when they're cut out. And then lastly, we can stamp our birthday cake. And I'm also going to stamp it on this white paper, or this cream paper as well, because I'm not sure how I'm going to put together the cake yet. And just for good measure, I will stamp it on the same pattern as her dress as well. I figure it never hurts to stamp it a couple extra times because you never know what's going to end up looking the best. It's hard to guess when you can't see them exactly how they're going to look in the final product right away. So, before I cut these out though, I want to draw a little table that these can sit on. So, I'm just going to start out by looking at my cake and my teacup and making sure that I have the size about right. So, I want the table to be about this wide, and we can just draw down from there, make it a squarish table, and then when I'm cutting it I'll just kind of round the corners, and then we'll just eyeball the middle and then have it just come out like this. Actually, I've decided I'm just going to do a simple base, just like on the cake. It kind of goes out into something like this. So I'm just going to mimic that, and then it'll make it look like it was meant to be there. So what I'll do is trace over this with a pen that makes it look like a stamped image, and then I'll cut it out. And that way it'll just be like I stamped the table, only I didn't, I drew it. And so now I'm just going to cut these out, and I'll just give you an example here, because I'm sure you don't want to sit here and watch me cut them all out. But what I'm going to do is, for example, on this one, I know that I'd only probably be using the icing for this, so what I'm going to do is not even worry about the rest of the image, but kind of cut it out first just so I don't have to deal with the rest of the paper, and then cut right through the part that I'm not using. That way I can really focus on this. And I'm just going to use my scissors. These are very pointy tipped scissors from EK Success. They're Cutter Bees, and you can get them pretty much anywhere. They're really great scissors though. You can see I cut through that flower because the flower would be adhered on top of it anyways, so there's no reason to go through all that fussy cutting. And I can just go through and move the paper, not my scissors. I mean, it takes a little bit of practice, but trust me, it just turns out so much better after that. And as long as you go slowly, you don't have to worry about, you know, cutting your fingers or anything like that, because you're always aware of where your fingers are and where the blades are. So you can maneuver the paper very easily. And sometimes you have to go from the other way, and that's okay too. It's whatever makes it work. So we have this nice cutout image, and as you can see, it's pretty close to the outside line. I mean, I might want to go back and touch this up with a marker a little bit, because some of the white edge is showing, but I'll do that after I cut out all of the pieces just to make it easier. I like to keep everything like that at once, where I cut all at once and then, you know, stamp all at once, you know what I mean. So I'm going to cut out the rest of these pieces, and then I'll be back in just a second. Alright, so I have my little teeny tiny pieces all cut out. It took me a while, but I usually just do it while I'm watching TV or something like that, so it's not that big of a deal. But if you don't like really intricate, delicate cutting, it might not be, these stamps might not be the right ones for you to start out with this technique on. but really big bold images like the cupcake one that I showed you before work really well for paper piecing too, so you can start out there and see how you like it first. So what I'm going to do to start out with the finishing of my card, I have this piece from the Sweet Threads pack as well, and I'm going to just add some pumice stone distress ink to the edges before I add it to my card base, and then I'm just going to adhere it down right there. And I have this piece of craft paper that I want to go here that will be kind of like the floor, and I'm going to punch it with my scalloped edge punch. This is from Fiskars, and I'm just centering it. You can see that it lines up, it's on the same place on the scallops on the sides, and that's just a good way for me to center it because I like my scallops to end and start the same way, but you don't have to be as picky as I am about it. Okay, and I'm also going to ink the edges of this with the pumice stone distress ink. And now I can just go ahead and adhere it down. Next, I can put down my table, and I'm just going to add some pumice stone to this as well, just very lightly, but it'll help make it blend in. And you can see I've went around the edges with this with a black marker, but I didn't do it to all of my stamped pieces just because they're so intricate. You won't even be able to tell really. It's the really bold pieces like this table or the teapot that you need to worry about on that one. I'm actually going to use the Zig 2-way glue pen for this. It's really great for paper piecing because it gets in those small areas and it sticks amazingly well. And the crazy part is if you let it dry, if you don't stick it down while it's wet and you let it dry, it creates this awesome repositionable adhesive. So it's kind of cool like that. So I'm just going to place this right about here, and this is something that I like to do when I'm paper piecing. I like to place my image down. This is the cake. I like to stamp it down and then glue my pieces over it. So I'm just going to stamp this in the pumice stone, the distress ink, right here where I want my cake to go. And you can barely see it. I could have used Memento Black, but this way you don't even really have to worry about making sure it's exactly covered. I can go ahead and start adhering my pieces. So I need to think about what needs to go on the bottom, and that's this cake stand. So I'm going to add some glue. It's best to do this on a piece of paper so that you don't get your surface all gluey, but a piece of scratch paper, it doesn't really matter. And then just place it right on top of where you just stamped the image, and that's a great guide so you know exactly how to place it and you can match everything up. Now I can glue down my teapot, and I think I want it to go over here. And I can go ahead and adhere down my little girl here. I'm just going to go ahead and adhere down versus stamping the image first because I have most of her in one piece here, so I don't really need it as a guide. But right about here, it's an imperfect science for sure. teacup on her little arm, and it's just adorable. And the last thing I really need to do as far as paper piecing goes, I want to place down these flowers. So I'm going to be using my quick stick from Quick Cuts, and it works like a charm for grabbing these really hard to grab pieces. It has some sticky tack on the end and then a poker on the other. So it helps you, it's just a piece of plastic that helps you place it. And lastly, I'm just going to stamp this Tea Party sentiment, also from the same set, onto this skinny strip of paper. I believe it's about a 1/2 inch tall, in Memento black ink. And I didn't really like how that's stamped, so a trick that I have for stamping sentiments is when it doesn't work just right, just note what you have to do, what you want better next time, and then flip it over and try again. It never hurts. So yeah, I like that one a lot better. I didn't like how it was kind of more towards the bottom on the last one. So now I can go ahead, I'm just going to trim this off for easy working with. I'll round the edge of this, and then I can ink it up with my Pumice Stone Distress ink. Now I can flip it over, trim off the excess. So I'm just going to finish everything up by using Pumice Stone Distress ink along the edges of the card, and that kind of just ties everything together. And then I think we're done for today. Definitely some intricate paper piecing going on, but I love these images and think that they work really well with cute little patterns like this, so you can make a little tea party card. And that's what I really like about my Cute Stamps is that in one stamp set you have the possibility for definitely one card, and then of course other cards with other ideas and variants, but always one main idea that you can really pull out of a set and use a lot of the stamps in one card, which is really cool. So here's a picture of the finished card. Here's a close-up. Make sure to check out my blog on June 9th, 2011 for the free PDF that goes along with this lesson, and I will catch you again next time on an All About Stamping video.